practice, especially with laparoscopic surgery in India as well as abroad. Won't even go into those details of how she's being. Yeah, we won't. She's also Padmashree, has received the Padmashree award for her amazing service. And some of that amazing service also is contributing to women's empowerment in India, because partly through her NGO, Pratyusha, which is this organization that supports women and children's health at all stages. And she is a ardent supporter of women being able to take care of their own health, and in teaching and educating people so that they can be empowered to take care of their own health throughout their life. And in spite of being such an amazing surgeon, she still is, strongly against any avoidable surgery, especially hysterectomies and anything that would, reduce the, enjoyment of life of women. So complete. I'm guessing Dr. Manjula is not even interested in this because she's heard this so many times before.
I think it's not, it's something we don't need to know. What we need to know is how to keep our health healthy. Like you
Absolutely.
Healthify Me. So that is a thing which everybody has to talk about. Self. We need to be healthy. If we are healthy, we can keep our friends and family healthy.
Absolutely, ma'am. So, and that's so true, especially I think with women in the role, we found that anytime a woman's health is improved, the health of her entire family improves as a result. So, ma'am, what would you want to say perhaps about the current COVID pandemic and women's health? Since, like, I think Jan 2020, we've been seeing so many changes in the entire economy, in the entire world around us. And that's impacted women very differently than it has impacted the rest of us. What would you like to talk about that?
Yeah, I agree. See, Nikhil, what has happened is the human nature came to the forefront when it came to any pandemic. That is what people say. Your true nature, if anybody wants to know, you should be put into a real emergency situation. That's when we know how the true nature is. Unfortunately, fortunately, we have seen two sides of the human nature coming out. First, initially, everybody is like, oh, we understand our family. We know our family. We want to be with the family. Then the actual selfishness of the human being came out, because then it said like, we don't know whether we're going to live or not. So let me take everything for me, myself, my family. So people have become more cutthroat than they were before. Unfortunately, this is a frank truth which people don't want to accept. And nobody, even though people say we've known the value of people, it is them. For them, people means their own family. That's it. It does not go beyond their nuclear things. So nobody is actually looking at a bigger picture. But what is important is, like in immunization, we talk about herd immunity. We say protect the herd. Even if you are not immunized, you will be protected.
Yeah.
That is what we should be looking at. Protect the whole country and human being as such, thinking that rather than the insecurities hitting us, that we are so insecure in today's time because of this thing about the life. Nobody knows. That was all true before also. Nobody knows whatever is going to happen tomorrow. The highest number of deaths is not because of cancers or any ill health. It is because of road traffic accidents. It is a proven fact. But still did not stop us from going out of the house. Agreed? So, but then why should this stop us from behaving the way we are supposed to behave? Yeah. It's a human natural instinct that we are very insecure and we want to protect only ourselves and our breed. When we talk about breed, it is not just the my own family. We should look at the whole population. So I hope a long time people understand that it is like how in the flights, people say, or everywhere, the advertisements tell you, you take the oxygen first, then you can give it to the others. Agreed. But that does not mean everything तुम लो और दूसरे लोग मर गए तो भी परवाह नहीं. वैसा भी नहीं कर रहे.
Yeah, absolutely, ma'am. I think that's so important to highlight that, we do need to take care of ourselves, but we're at the same time as we're taking care of ourselves, we need to make sure that our neighbors are safe. And by doing that, we are actually supporting both people, right? And we are making sure our neighbors are safe and healthy and happy also contributes to our own health, because they will do the same. So I think that's something that we've seen a lot more in the pandemic. But coming into the actual COVID pandemic, we are seeing a third wave of COVID. It is very different from the previous waves that we've seen. While the case spike is seemingly quite high, the number of deaths seems to be a lot lower. What is it about this third wave that we need to be a little bit more cognizant of? Because also, yes, it's lower, but maybe we need to still be a little bit careful. Like, I think people are taking it a little easy now.
So that is the point, Nikhil. Nikhil, let me give you the 3-wave picture. First wave, none of us knew what was happening. We are like, oh, there I'm seeing some tail. So probably that is a tiger. So we really didn't know what was happening. And nobody, doctors did not know how it is going to spread, what is the treatment, how it went and all. By the time the first wave is over, we understood so many facts and the epidemiology about it. And we did know that mask, social distancing, plus antivirals, that is remdesivir. And very importantly, the vaccine is the one which came out of the outcome of the first wave. Okay, by the end of first wave, we came out with the vaccines because we knew the virus. We were trying to target the virus with the vaccine which we created. By the time the second wave came, vaccines started being given out, but still it hit very, very badly because of the aggressiveness with which it has affected. So it was very deadly because the whole mutations, we know that virus is something, it's a survival of the fittest. If I want to survive, even the virus wants to survive. So it changes its skin. It takes out its tiger's thing and puts leopard skin, again leopard skin, the cheetah skin, something, everything keeps changing. It is still the lion or the tiger inside, but the cover keeps changing. So the vaccine was not, whether it is effective, non-effective, again, we didn't know. But the best outcome of second wave was we started developing antibodies, that is monoclonal antibodies, which were against the surface protein of the thing. By the time we came to the third wave, we had the treatment in hand. We knew that monoclonal antibodies is going to take. So a very super intelligent virus thought, I will shed the cover. So there is no S gene, no cover on it. And now the nude naked virus started coming out. That is what is Omicron.
Right.
So when the thing came, that means the monoclonal antibodies will not work against it. That was the thing which we thought initially. Then next, the vaccine also might not work because vaccine was made against the cover again, not the whole virion. Yeah, Covaxin was made against the whole virion, but it was mRNA was not made for whole virion, and the Covishield also was not made for, it was made for the spike protein. Absolutely. That's where we were with Omicron. And we also knew that it started becoming very erratic in behavior and started spreading like wildfire. Now, even though when we look at, when we say when Delta was killing 100 out of 1,000, right, and it will kill 1 out of 1,000 here, for example, but still Delta was spreading to only 1,000 to 10,000, but here it is 1,000 to 1 lakh. Right. So it jumps like that. So when it takes to 1 in 1,000 to 1,000 in 1 lakh, it will be 100 people again. So that is what we are seeing today. We have seen deaths with Omicron. So what we need to understand is that we have treatment. We know that remdesivir is good, so we still give antiviral whenever it is needed beyond the 5 days of fever. We know vaccination is having cross protection, so we should be taking vaccinated. We should get vaccinated, and that is going to help. Second, we also know that now the taboo of testing has come down. That is one great thing. Everybody is testing, everybody is getting tested. Thank God it is. At least awareness of getting tested has increased. Now, because of which we are knowing the infection present or not, but what is important is for us to know whether S gene is present or not. Now, with Omicron surface, it is 32 mutations which are there. And when we look at, I will not go into too much details into it, but only thing is that some of it do present has a spike protein with the S gene positive with the one particular mutation called GA1. So with that mutation, when it happens, that means monoclonal antibodies work against them. In that particular case. So Omicron also is not one and the same. It has different variations and different things. So with all these things, we try again giving monoclonal antibodies. If the fever does not come down, it is again the antivirals. But the routine thing does not change. That is getting vaccinated, mask up, and social distancing. That will decrease the virulence because the viral count which is going to be affecting is going to come down. So what we need to understand is if you have a Z amount of virus which is hitting us, we will need X amount of antibodies to think. Our body can still produce only X amount, but if it is 10Z which is coming to us, it is not going to be, this is going to capture us. That's why the viral load has to come down, which is going to come into us. So mask is going to filter that. It will not, we will never say it will never come to you, but even it, because Omicron is something which can hit everybody, every house, every nook and corner. But the amount of virus which can hit us so that our antibodies, which our anamnestic reaction creates, what do I mean by that? Our memory cells will produce the antibodies, which because we have been vaccinated, we have memory cells inside our body. So stop testing for antibodies. That doesn't matter. Whenever you are exposed to infection, body produces the memory cells above the threshold level, and that goes and fights this. So we have to look at, if infection is less, antibodies is going to eat it up. But infection is more, this is not going to help us. That's where we have to maintain the social distancing, get yourself vaccinated and the mask up. But if the symptoms are there, meeting the doctor is something which is very, very important. If the fever does not come down after 5th day, means there is something serious going on. Your cytokine storm is bigger than what you expected and you need to go to the doctor.
Okay, if I can just summarize that a little bit for our viewers, ma'am, what you're saying is that although like Omicron is less serious right now than the original the Delta one, but there are still deaths happening, there are still issues happening. We need to still be careful about ourselves. And one of the simplest ways to be careful is just by using a mask all the time, by taking care of ourselves in terms of maintaining our health and fitness, using a mask, getting our vaccine shot, and also social distancing to some extent while this virus is currently, the third wave is going on. It's quite high. It's as high as the number of cases in the second wave. And so we're probably seeing a pretty large amount. Just to focus a little bit more on if I am having a fever or a sore throat or a cold, right? I'm having these symptoms that indicate that I can be having an upper respiratory tract virus, as a virus somewhere in my body. How can I, like, what should I do then? Should I just assume it's COVID and like panic, or should I, assume, hey, no, it can't be COVID and not? What's my response?
Panic should go away. There is no question of panic. By now, we know that it is here to stay. We are here to stay. We are just trying to see how we can fight it up. That is the only thing when we are there. So what has happened is when Delta presented, it was first the fever, when so many other things. But Omicron, rather than the fever, if it comes, it's only one day and self-limiting at the most. But mostly it presents with headache, the backache, muscle pains, fatigue, and sore throat-like picture. Okay, whereas that was presenting with loss of taste, neurogenic, blood clots, having multi-system disorders. That was very aggressive disease which was there. Now this is relatively a friendlier thing, but remember one thing, your friend also, if they know your weakness, they can become your very more selfish and they can take you up completely. So I think the worst enemy is your closest friend when they start deceiving you. So it can be a deceiver. Omicron can be a deceiver. So that's why we need to be very, very, very careful about. So don't ever take it in today's pandemic when, unless otherwise proven, it is Corona. So when we have to understand one thing, once something is rampant, it will not allow the other viruses to grow. So Omicron has taken over. When the lion goes into the plane, all these small foxes and all, वो हट जाएगा रास्ता से. I mean, वो राजा के लिए दार वो बे दे देगा और जाके छिप जाएगा. So in today's time, Omicron is the king. So any other infection is going to be hidden. It is not going to be there. So unless otherwise proven, and it is difficult to prove because you have so many antigens and so many, like I said, 32 mutations, and all the tests will not prove. So it is still going to be taken as Omicron, but we do not panic because 99% of the time it is a mild variant. Only 1% is going to be severe. So if it is only the aches and all, lots and lots of water in a sense liquids, and preferably clear water. And the second thing is because virus can cause dehydration and that can cause complications. And second one is lots of jokes going about Dolo 650 being sold everywhere and everything. Yeah. Paracetamol, which is a safer analgesic, the reason being that it's safer to kidney. So whenever we give any analgesics or antipyretics, we look at what is the safest bet. Tylenol or paracetamol is the safest bet. So because of the backache and all, but saying that the fatigue and all, like you said, our immunity is very important. So high protein diet, and when we say high protein diet, very simple thing is 2 egg whites and a lot of dal and all those things. And what is very important again is that taking multivitamin and a zinc. Zinc is booster, vitamin C, all those things you can take it. That it's not mean that you should be taking it. If you're good enough in your immunity and you take it, that's fine. Now, in this time, if you go to gym, it's only going to make you worse. The muscles are aching. Don't break them. So take rest, give body the rest it needs so that all the immune forces inside your body can fight against the virus, not fighting against the gym thing that you have done. So don't rush. So actually that can actually be detrimental. And if you're smoking, try to avoid smoking in this particular 1 week or at least something like that. Alcohol, they're all things which can dehydrate, and virus dehydrates a lot. So try to avoid these things for at least this 1 week, 10 days where they are going through this viral syndrome. So these are a few things you should understand and deal it with respect. It will give way and then move away. And go to a doctor. If the fever is there for 4-5 days, means maybe you are in the 1%. So just go and meet the doctor.
All right. So if I understand you right, ma'am, first of all, don't panic.
No panic.
But always assume it is COVID, right?
Yes.
And then take care of yourself in all the ways that you said. Drink lots of water, eat healthy food, get a little bit of movement, and all that. And if your fever is lasting 4 or 5 days, or it's really severe, with paracetamol, your fever is not coming down, you're just not happy, you're taking all the paracetamol or any of the medicine, and you're still not happy, you have to go to the hospital. Now, there are some people who are still prescribing things like ivermectin and doxycycline, some of these antibiotics and helminthics, I think, is it?
That's what. Nikhil, that's what I said. First way when it came, we didn't know. So we were trying to give immunomodulators. We were trying to give anything which works. It is like जो भी काम करेगा. वो time पे अगर ऊपर से कोई आके मैं ये मंत्र पढ़ो वो काम करेगा, वो भी ready है हम लोग. Because जिंदा तो रहना है. First our main aim is to live. Then later we will see how it works. Now we know very, very clearly all that do not work. Immunomodulators also might not work. It helps you over a long time, but never in the acute crisis at all. So it's not at all recommended now. It's only lots of water and dolo. But yes, superadded infection, sore throat mein raha, then Ezivoc or one antibody. Doxycycline will not have a role because it is a bacteriostatic. So we are looking at bactericidal if at all there is a superadded bacterial infection.
Understood.
Otherwise, it doesn't work. Please do not insult your body and put load on your kidney or the liver, which are the main things which take away all these waste which we give with all these medicines. It is going to be only lots of liquids, again, to wash away as much as possible. Paracetamol, if at all there is again the muscle pains, body pains, fever, and all those things. And if it is Delta variant, or if it is you have a S gene positive and you're symptomatic, that is important, you can take a monoclonal antibody combination. We call it as cocktail medicine. Just like a regular cocktail will work, even this will make you fine just like that in 6 to 8 hours, because it is the antibodies which will go and hit against the infection and get it down. So that's what we look at. Other than that, if the fever is lasting more than 4-5 days, that means, and the patient is symptomatic, remdesivir started daily. It's simple knowledge that virus, antiviral, that's it. Why are we giving antibiotic and all those things when it is virus which is hitting us? And only one thing is, there are 2-3 antivirals only which work against this virus. One is remdesivir. We used to give favipiravir. Now we know it is a very, very weak one. Now molnupiravir is something which was very spoken about, but lot of side effects and not at all advisable. So remdesivir still test of time, and it is safer in pregnant women. So if it's safe in pregnancy, it can be used to anybody. So it is daily ones for about 3 days. Before we used to give for 5 days. Now 7 days, then 5 days. Now we know it is only 3 days. So I think over time we have become more knowledgeable. We understood more. And we are treating it better, trying to get down the mortality and morbidity. But still, it is a number game, Nikhil. Huge numbers itself will end up in deaths, which are quite significant, because the number in that number by percentage might be less.
Yeah.
You always tell one thing, Nikhil, because you are a doctor, I am a doctor. Let me tell to everybody out there. All of you guys out there think everything is like maths. 1 + 1 should be 2. It will not be 2. 1 + 1 in a scientific knowledge, if a condom is not used, will become 3. As simple as that. So please understand, science is not maths. Everything is ifs, buts, and relative.
Yeah. So I think what you're trying to say is also continue to socially distance, even if this COVID is not severe, even if it's not causing as severe problems. Please socially distance during this crisis and take care of yourselves in that way. And other stuff, I hope people remember the condom usage, because that's also important. Separate issue, but also important. Coming back to women's health, ma'am, I think there's for a lot of time we've been focusing on deaths, right? But I think in terms of women's health, again, scientific knowledge has sometimes been a little bit slow in discovering some of the impacts of COVID on women. How does maybe people with PCOS or pregnancy get affected by COVID? And what is this long COVID that affects women way more often than men?
See, Nikhil, like you said, like any medicine when it is launched into the world, that studies are done on normal human being. When I say normal, pregnancy is normal, but nobody wants to risk anything on the pregnant woman, because if there is
Absolutely.
on the way effect on the pregnancy to the baby or anything, the whole company is going to go into, a lot of issues. That's why nothing is tested on it. So we really don't know in the real life scenario when the situation comes that it's like at gunpoint, that's when things are used on a pregnant woman. Now, this happened in the second wave. First wave, pregnancy was untouched. It's hardly anybody in pregnancy got affected. What we need to understand about pregnancy, Nikhil, is that it is also an immunomodulatory phase where everything is different. There are so many times you just have to understand that baby can be O positive, mother can be B positive, father can be again B positive or O positive, but the baby can be O positive. Means a B positive mother is carrying a O positive baby without even rejecting it.
Right.
That means there are so many immunomodulatory things happening in the mother at that time so that it can take care of the baby and not reject it. So that was something which was protecting them from getting affected in the first wave. Now, when it came to second wave, the whole thing changed and it started affecting very badly, and we lost many mothers post-delivery, during pregnancy in second wave, because the whole T cell immunity and the B cell immunity worked differently with the mutations the virus underwent. The Delta was terrible, and on super added with it, in pregnancy, the lung compliance is going to be less because the whole abdomen is full of baby. So the lungs cannot open up as much as it is. So because of the constrained space in the lungs, the infections can come, and the infection does not go the way it is because of physiological changes in pregnancy. So, and the blood clots, if you take, like I said, in the second wave, blood clots were the terrible things. Third wave, we don't have that. So pregnancy is a stage where blood clots are going to be high.
Yeah.
And superadded any viral infection, there will be dehydration, so blood clots are going to be high. And corona itself is a thrombogenic phase because D dimers are going to be high, and that causes a thing. So that led to triple dhamaka, and we lost people with blood clots in the lungs, brain, heart, everything. So that was a huge lesson for us. Luckily, vaccination started. So, and in by the time second wave came, government also did not give approval for the vaccination in the pregnancy. We were going on shouting at the top of our thing that please give in pregnancy. And everybody is like, it is not tested in pregnancy. So we shall wait and see. What are we waiting for? For deaths to happen before we give green signal for the vaccine to be given. Why I was very rampant about it, and why was I very vocal about it, is that we have vaccines in pregnancy. We are using, we use TT, we use Tdap, we use flu vaccine in pregnancy, which are safe. The same philosophy is these vaccines also. We are not talking about any live viruses. We're talking about the live attenuated, not even live attenuated, dead viruses we are talking about. So they're safe in pregnancy, or virus-like particles. Or we are looking at the vaccine which is not at all having any virion in it. So that is when we said vaccine should be given to everybody in pregnancy actually. So now government has approved for it with all the studies which we are there. So after that, we are seeing much better thing now. So in Omicron, what we are saying is pregnant women are getting it, but not badly affected. But headache is the most common sign in pregnancy, not just fever. Fever is very mild. And yes, we have not seen in the second trimester, again, second wave, we've seen abortions, we have seen second trimester early deliveries and preterm deliveries and iatrogenic pregnancy so that we can save the mothers and so many things happening. But this pregnancy, this Omicron has not hit the mothers so badly. So as of today, we did not have to terminate any pregnancy to save the mother because it was mild in pregnancy as of this point. Now, the long COVID, which you said for the woman, this is something which we noted only after second COVID. What has happened is, like I said, it's going to affect the whole the blood clotting mechanism. So there's a consumption. So the bleeding is going to be like a tap. So they were having more bleeding. Irregular bleeding. Stress itself can have a HPO axis variability. What is HPO? It is hypothalamo-pituitary-ovarian axis. What do I mean for layman? It is a brain. Hypothalamus is everything related to our thought, what we do, everything, and satiety center, everything in the brain. Then from there, the signal goes to a pituitary, from where the hormones actually get secreted. Now, these hormones come and act on the ovary, and from there, the egg either releases or does not release, or the hormones then act on the uterus. So this is the nexus which happens. Now, if anywhere there's a problem with that nexus, everything is going to go awry. So we are stressed, we are not eating well, we have fever, that itself can cause this thing. And then the whole hormones became awry, and they were having irregular cycles, longer cycles, earlier cycles, and it was taking almost a year for them to get back to normal. So yes, all these things happen, but we have to understand that hormonal imbalance should be corrected with hormones only. Saying that if there is a prothrombotic phase, means when there's a clotting phenomenon happening, I cannot give hormones because estrogen can cause increased clots. So I can only use progesterone or de-stressing mechanisms, regular exercises, because in Corona, again, exercise has come down. People started putting on weight, and the weight itself will have a lot of fat. Fat can produce again estrogen. So a lot of things went awry, and fatigue itself did not allow the people to from doing the regular exercises to become fit. Fit versus fat, it ended up with becoming the hormonal imbalance, and that led to a lot of things. But now third wave is not so bad. So we are hoping nothing much happens.
So that's really true, ma'am. And I think, understanding this from a very biological point of view is really important. But I think a lot of people are also facing a lot of small, painful issues with this long COVID, right? And I think with women, it's way more often. I was just reading some research, and it had said that just fatigue and this sort of brain fog that people feel, they're trying to concentrate on their work, they're trying to concentrate on their life. There are so many things that we handle on a daily basis as adults, and for women, just this inability to concentrate, and even breathlessness, 7 times more common in women, and fatigue is twice as common in women. Sorry,
Nikhil, about the hormonal imbalance, right? And I told
yes,
about HPO axis. Like I said, there's a satiety center and all that. This respiratory center is directly linked to the progesterone and estrogen. Okay. So our heavy breathing in pregnancy, when you see, people have, they think it is the breathlessness. It is air hunger. The air hunger is because of progesterone. Okay. These hormonal imbalances are causing that. And the amount of bleeding they are going to have in the menstrual cycle will again lead to anemia, severe anemia, iron deficiency. Their ferritin levels is going to be very, very low. That means that oxygen carrying capacity of the RBC is going to be low. So your blood, even though you have 12 grams, if you do the ferritin, it is going to be less than 50. Unless you give them the Orofer FCM or iron injection, your iron content is not going to go. With superadded with this hormonal imbalance is going to cause all this memory loss, fogging, and whatever, the fatigue and everything. So the best solution for it is, again, like I said, check your ferritin levels, take the iron injections. The amount of iron injections we have given in the last 1 year is, I think, more in what I have given in 20 years.
Wow. So obviously this is a really big, like in terms of the epidemic in nutritional health also, we do need to take a lot more care about what we are eating and how we're taking care of ourselves. In that front, I just want to remind everyone that, HealthifyMe does allow you to check your nutrition for iron as well. So please do check whether what you're eating is good enough. And also, if you're trying to follow ma'am's, guideline on vaccination, please do make sure you've gotten your vaccines or you get your vaccine boosters, as HealthifyMe is going to provide you the Vaccinate Me service to check whether you're eligible, and please book it as soon as you can. Ma'am, is there anything else that, uniquely affects women in this COVID pandemic that you want to highlight before we open it up for
I want to tell one more thing. That, please, COVID, everybody started working from home.
Yes.
That is a huge stress for the woman who is at home. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Because then the time they have for me time is gone. They have to again take care of the husbands who are sitting at home, the children who is sitting at home, and teaching. The teacher, what teacher is to do, the mother has to do now. She's seeing whether the children are working or children are doing homework or not. That is adding so much of stress to the woman. Cooking, what to cook in the morning, what to cook in the afternoon, what to cook in the evening. पहले एटलीस्ट संडे मिलता था, वो भी नहीं है. अभी तो हर दिन संडे हो गया, तो जो जितना ज्यादा सब घर में बैठ के मेरे को वो चाहिए, मेरे को ये चाहिए. So this is no holidays for the woman. That all has added to lot of stress to the woman. And we have seen lot of divorces happening abuse at home has increased. Actually, the rates of physical abuse and mental abuse on the woman has increased. And we've also seen increased pregnancy rates also in COVID times. So we still have both the things happening. Everything depends, like it is individualized. We are human beings. Like I said, science is not maths. Everything keeps changing according to that. So what I want to say is, please understand, every one of us out there, please understand that what you are going through, the other person is also going through. So respect them, respect their space. Don't think you're only one. You are going through this problem because, again, they have lost the jobs. So the insecurities have worsened. So all this is mental stress, which can again affect everybody in their hormonal ways.
Absolutely, ma'am. And I think you pointed that out so beautifully, because especially I think when one family member has COVID, the woman has doubled the work.
Yes.
Or triple the work, you could say. One, she's already taking care of so many things. Then she has to take care of this person who has COVID. Then she also, then taking care of this person who has COVID, putting herself at risk. Let's acknowledge that. And then on top of that, suddenly the house help is not allowed to come in. You're taking care of all the housework, and your work triples overnight if one
cooking
person
separately, cooking separately for that person, cooking separately for this person. OMG.
Yeah. And the domestic violence that comes along with it, I'm just, there's no comment that I can say that, makes it any way better. But it's just such a sad thing that in the middle of this pandemic, like you said, we all need to be working together. And instead, some people are actually taking this time to find more problems with each other. And that's just really sad. And I think I also want to highlight that women have actually fallen out of the workforce. A lot of them have lost jobs or left their jobs in order to be there for their families. And that's another thing that, affects women in a great way. So I think I'm just going to pause here, ma'am. Is there anything you want to say before we start opening it up for questions? If you can just, Jasmine, give it up to questions to let everyone start asking their questions on the chat.
Rajni has raised her hand.
Yeah, I think almost 4-5 people have raised their hands already. I think they'll be able to send their question in the chat now. So if everyone wants to just put their question in the chat, we're more than happy to provide everyone a space to ask your question. Just type it out and we will be answering them one by one. We just don't want to get everyone to have, audio, because then Dr. Manjula ma'am won't be able to answer even one question, because there'll be too many, as I'm sure. Please put your questions down in the chat. We're waiting for it. In the meantime, I have one question, ma'am. What do you think the future of COVID is likely to be? Like, are we looking forward to this just being a part of our lives, coming in once a year in this light way, just taking these precautions all the time?
COVID has taught us a lot of lessons, both the doctors and everything, who feel supreme that we know everything. We don't know anything. That is something which COVID has taught us. And saying that, we all know it is always survival of the fittest. So it is trying its norm to become to survive. So that is also trying to survive. We are also trying to survive. So this goes a long way how it goes. So according to what we all were anticipating from before, it will at least be 2025 before we think we can really coexist with a milder version of COVID, which is like common cold, and not think about it. Like how we are living with flu now without even thinking about it. This is the same pandemic which was there in 2018. So yeah, that's how it is.
So ma'am, one of the first questions, can anyone get COVID for a second time?
Yes, second time, third time. Like I said, everything is changing its structure. So we are getting infected with a different version of the thing. It's a new version. Okay, people go out to see movies, same movie 3 times, 4 times. The same thing that is also trying to visit us 2 times, 3 times. But yes, one thing about the second time infection is that our memory cells will work well, and our amount of the infection, the type of infection which is going to come is much more lower and mellowed down version which is going to be there. And we will become more wiser. We know how to take care of ourselves. And this time, hopefully, you will go to the doctor earlier.
Another person is asking, ma'am, if you could just explain a little bit of the effect of COVID on PCOS and hypothyroidism. There's some research to show that PCOS people are more vulnerable.
Yeah, what we need to understand about PCOS is there is insulin resistance in them. Means you're pre-diabetic. These are the patients who are obese. They have a hyperandrogenism. That is, the protective action of estrogen is gone. So your immunity is going to be a little lower, and your pre-diabetic stage will make you vulnerable for any infection which can come. So PCOS as such will have a higher incidence of so many diseases, and these are the people who will have vitamin D deficiency too, which can be associated with PCOS. And vitamin D deficiency itself can cause so many other diseases coming to our bodies. So yes, diabetic, PCOS, all these hormonal imbalances, which I told you already, hypothyroid. Now, hypothyroid, how does it worsen? Because again, hypothyroid, there is immunity which is very, very low. In hypothyroid, there is obesity. In PCOS, there is obesity. With obesity comes increased fat, and with the fat comes increased estrogen. Again, the hormonal imbalances. It's all interlinked. Medicine is all interlinked. It's one body. It's all interlinked. It's a endocrine. That is why we call them as endocrine disorders. Endocrine means it is produced from one place, but it acts on all over the body. That is what happens with pancreas, which happens with thyroid, which happens with the ovary, which happens with the adrenal gland, and like so forth. So these are the hormones which are secreted from the small organ there, but they act on all over the body. It is like salt in a curry. You add salt, it does not get it. It mixes everywhere. And if the salt is not there, we don't like it, we add salt. If the salt is more, you might end up being hypertensive, and that can actually lead to problems again, kidney diseases and all that. So we need to balance. So hormones always should be balanced. In PCOS, there is imbalance, and the insulin resistance, a very gross imbalance of everything, which will make you susceptible.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am, for answering that question. I think it was being asked by several people. And also vaccination, I'm guessing, has no severe problem with PCOS and periods, right?
We give vaccination irrespective of day 1, day 2 of period. Nothing to do with periods also. We just go ahead. You are a human being, take a vaccine. Woman or a man or a day of cycle, you are pregnant, not pregnant, you are lactating, not lactating. It's all absurd. Just go save yourself. That's it. SOS is save ourselves.
Great, ma'am. Ma'am, there are two questions which are very interlinked. One person is asking, I had COVID 2 weeks ago, and this month I got my period twice. And they are thinking that it might have something to do with that hormonal imbalance you mentioned.
Yes.
And another person is mentioning that does COVID cause a reduction in iron level? I don't think it's direct,
I just told you that your ferritin level are going to come down. That is what I'm trying to tell you. When you do the test during COVID, your ferritin levels is very, very high. That is because of your the immune system effect, and the ferritin high means it's a bad indicator for COVID, what is happening, and it's fighting. So it's all getting used up, and at the end of it, when you get out of COVID, your ferritin level is going to be very low, and then that will lead to decreased oxygen carrying capacity, and that leads to a lot of fatigue. Okay, so it is the using up of the whole thing which happens in the time of that. Now, saying that yes, the periods coming irregular after COVID, like I said, it's a stress plus COVID itself, virus stimulating the center in the HPO axis and creating this. It will settle, nothing to be worried. But if you are bleeding more, you have to meet your doctor and take the progesterone help, the correcting hormone help, or local styptics.
Okay. Yeah. And ma'am, there is someone who is asking, based on that period thing, if it's okay if they start planning for a baby after COVID.
Initially, we were scared and all, but now it's okay to plan for the baby. There is absolutely no, people are pregnant and they get COVID. So we don't have to worry about it. But when there is a hormonal imbalance, the ovulation becomes awry. So you might need some time to get it sorted out, and then you can plan for pregnancy. But if you're not in a hurry, always better to wait 1 or 2 months and then go for 6 weeks at least, and then go for pregnancy.
Okay. And ma'am, Ranjini is asking us, like, how long does the COVID virus stay in the body? Because now the isolation days, in the first wave it was like 14 days. Now it's like 7 days.
5 days.
So,
for healthcare, it is 5 days. You need to work also, right? Yeah.
What is the reason for that? Why are we so concerned about 7 days to 5 days to, like, why did that change?
It is rather than how much days it is going to stay inside, how many days it is going to shed is what is important. Means, are you a carrier? Are you going to shed the virus that you're going to spread it to others? That's important. So once you're asymptomatic, means your memory cells, I'm going on talking about memory cells, if you remember that. So you have taken your vaccine, your body has memory cells, they start producing more antibodies, they go and kill the virus. So there is no virus left over for you to shed. Understood my point? So if you are not vaccinated and you get the COVID and you're still going to shed, then 14 days. But otherwise, it's all courtesy, our vaccine, the thing has come down to 7 days now for our healthcare, because we get exposed so many times that our memory cells are so good that whenever we are exposed, our antibodies will go and kill it. So it is about, if we are fine, we are coming back to work after 3 days, 4 days. That's it. It is basically, we are looking at shedding. Do you shed or do you not shed?
Yeah. And ma'am, so here's another question, which is more about that post-COVID stuff that we were talking about, the long COVID. So we're having three people, Asma, Ira, and Kavita. They're all talking about almost 10 days after the virus has come and already gone. They've tested negative or this thing has stopped. They are having brain fog, tiredness, exercise, headache, exhaustion. And so one of them wants to get back to their exercise and even cough. And they're like, how can we get back to this? This stuff is still staying with us. What do we do? Can I get back to my life, my work, my workouts? Or
I think a lot of energy boosters are needed in the sense of, first is your mindset. First, you get over it that yes, COVID is no longer with me. Now I have to get back to normal. That positive attitude is the first thing which you have to look at. Second, lot of electrolyte water, including the zinc, like L-arginine, amino acids, electrolyte water, not just the electrolytes. It is the amino acids which is the bodybuilding. That is, protein is the bodybuilder. And we are not talking about all the steroids and all those things. No to steroid, absolute no to steroid. It can actually worsen the thing. So what we are looking at is, we look at L-arginine, that sort of a thing, or glutamine or something which is amino acid based liquid supplements. That is what we give it. And then multivitamin with zinc. That is something which we look at. Now, check your ferritin levels. If it is less, please take iron infusion. This will go a long way. And vitamin D levels. Please supplement your body with vitamin D and eat normally. अब कितना भी बोलो हमारा ये है कि वो नहीं खाना, ये नहीं खाना, ये खाए तो ये होता, कुछ नहीं होता. Please take high protein, good diet. So you do all this, and being fit, you want to get back your normal means not wasting your energies, whatever you're trying to recruit. You are going to take something, you need something for storage. Your COVID has taken away whatever is in your store also. So first fill your storage, bank balance, then use something to spend. So don't start doing your gymming very next day after you recover. That is one thing many people do it to show off to the people. I don't understand this generation. Why are you in a hurry to show that you are normal, you are fit? You become fit, then you do the show off business about your muscles and everything. Fine, agreed. You are fit, but your bank balance is over. First, fill the bank balance. Okay?
Right. So first, recover yourself completely, get yourself back to your healthy state.
And then after very fast. If you don't expend it, you don't spend it.
Right. So I think, ma'am, what you're suggesting is like get some degree of mobility and activity, but please don't work out to the point where you're straining your body.
One more point, Nikhil. When you said chronic cough and all, yes, it is an allergic reaction, how the body reacts to the lung layers. We do know that COVID goes through that ACE inhibitors too, and then that's how it goes. So that irritation can cause dry cough. Again, a lot of water will help, or a cough syrup will help. That is something you can do. Steam inhalation will help. All these things will help, definitely. So apart from it, like rather than getting worried about COVID, the positive attitude actually goes a long.
Yeah, I think that positive attitude you're talking about is really important, ma'am. And also, I think we're saying that it's important to recover your body completely from the long COVID. Like long COVID is a thing, it's a disease, it affects you, it brings down your total capacity and capability for a little while, for a long while sometimes. And it's important to recover from that before you start pushing your body again, right?
Deep breathing exercise help a lot with lung compliance.
Okay, that's one of the most important, especially for cough and breathlessness.
Hold it, and then release.
Yeah, there are many other deep breathing exercises. You can even go to our yoga trainers if you want even more. But what ma'am is saying, which is that doing a good lung physiotherapy for your lung basically is so important to bring back that function, bring back yourself from breathlessness and all that. Ma'am, so we're also looking at one lady who is asking about they're about 45 years old, they have fibroids, they've got very low iron levels. They got an iron injection about 6 months back, but it's come down again. Is hysterectomy the only way out in this situation? I know this is not really about COVID, but I'm just
but this is an interesting question, because on this forum, I want to tell every woman out there, whenever we take a call about what to do, we look at three aspects. One, what is the diagnosis? Next, what are the options we have for that particular diagnosis? The lady is symptomatic, then what is the diagnosis? What are the options we have? And the age of the patient. Now, if it is less than 40 years age woman, the same fibroids, we only look at the cause and removal of the cause, means removing fibroids. That's it. Correcting your anemia, replenishing your anemia. It is like you have a tap. You're opening the tap. You're trying to put water with a small spoon inside your tank on the top of the house. First thing we need to do is close the tap. Then only the tank is going to fill. So your iron is going to fall as long as you don't do anything to stop the bleeding from happening. So we need to target that. So what is the option you have? We have the options of laparoscopic. Everything is going to be laparoscopy in today's time, not open surgery, because we are looking at minimally invasive surgeries. And because fibroids do not disappear with medicines, we are only talking about minimally invasive surgery. So if it is now, when it is fibroids, location makes a huge difference. If it is inside the uterus, inside the endometrium, we have to remove it. If it is not inside the uterus, endometrium, it is inside the muscle or outside, then we take a call thinking of what all we can do. We can treat with hormones, opposite hormones. We can put Mirena. We can look at TCRE. There are other options available. Now, if it is affecting, that is the cause, we look at laparoscopic myomectomy if the lady is less than 40 years. But saying that, since menopause is around 48 to 52 and a lady is more than 45, definitely the ideal option, because hormonal imbalance also comes in at that age, with laparoscopic hysterectomy. So we take into consideration so many factors, then give the thing. But again, even at 47, 48, if the lady does not want to remove the uterus, then go for a laparoscopic myomectomy, means removing only the fibroids and getting the uterine arteries ligated. That would be the ideal option for her if she does not want hysterectomy.
Thank you, ma'am. And ma'am, there's one question that's been persistent. Creator Sequera, who has brought this up again, which is that she's got, and I think this is probably true for many of us, we have older parents who may or may not have suffered from flu-like symptoms, maybe COVID itself, even though the COVID may come negative, we should assume it is COVID, but they are now eligible for the booster. Should they get the antibody test to check whether they should be sent for the booster, or should we just get the booster without thinking about it?
We should just give the booster without thinking twice. There is no rationale in testing the antibodies, because you do an antibody, it might be zero also, doesn't matter. It is the, again, it's a technical term I'm going to use. There is something called anamnestic reaction. Means when you get, simple equation is that you get a cold, you develop antibodies against it, but it will disappear because the cold is going to change its shape. Here, we have taken vaccine, you get the antibodies inside our body. The same way you get a COVID, you have antibodies against it. Now, next time, similar type of a virus comes into us, like when we take this HPV vaccine or anything, our antibodies will start producing multiplication of numbers. That is what the memory cells do. And then they go and hit. When we test them, they might be zero, but when it gets affected, with an antigen, that's when these produced. So by giving this precautionary dose, as of today, actually scientifically, there is no sound proof that we need the precautionary dose or not. But like I said, we are learning every time and we are going forward. So that is the reason it is not called as booster dose. It is called precautionary dose. Because over years only we will know whether we need booster or not. But here we are erring on a side to see that we save our people. So we are giving the precautionary dose. So please give it without testing.
I'm sorry, a little bit of an internet connection issue from my side, ma'am. But otherwise, I think another question that was popping up with a lot of importance was that, and I think this is just, there's one person who's saying that she's having pain in her left leg after having 5 days of COVID, severe pain. I'm guessing this person has to go to the hospital really urgently, right?
There are two things you should look at when legs are having pain. One, is there a blood clot in the blood vessels? Second, it might be only the free oxygen radical damage. So you can just take your vitamin E and L-carnitine capsules. If the leg pain comes down because of that, that is perfect. But please go meet a doctor, because they have to check your blood vessels and see if there is any blood clot in that.
Okay. Ma'am, there's only one question, or two questions I'd like to reiterate. They are there in the chat, but we are limited on time. So I'm going to keep to these 2 questions.
Minutes.
Yeah, I know. So I'm going to ask one question, which is, if if I have COVID and somebody else has recovered from COVID, are they still in danger of getting my COVID back? Like, are they still in danger even if they've just
Yes,
recovered from
because
COVID?
it can be a different version. It can be
Exactly.
an altered version which is there. So it is immunized at that particular COVID doesn't mean the next type of thing it is immunized. But it will be, there is a cross reaction always.
Absolutely.
I'll give you a different example now. HPV infection.
Yeah.
HPV is human papilloma virus. You have innumerable versions of it. 150, 450 types of HPV, more than that you have. But what is the dangerous HPV is very few. Of that, most dangerous will be about 12 to 13 we are dangerous. We have your 6 and 11 causing warts, and you have the 33, 45 and other things which are causing cancers. 16, 18, 33, 45 and all those things. So initially we came up with the bivalent vaccine, then we came up with the quadrivalent with 6, 11 and 16, 18. Now we have a nonavalent vaccine, which is again 33, 45 and other things. So why are we doing all that? Because once edil mange more, we always want more. So once we start coming with that, so we want more. So that's how, if you get a 16, doesn't mean you don't get 18. The same way I got COVID doesn't mean the next COVID is the same. But we only have to hope that a vaccine comes up with multiple versions of these fallacies, that finally we'll come up with a vaccine which can save us against the whole Covishield, the spectrum. But that's difficult because they keep changing the true colors.
Yeah. And I think that's really important, is to remember that it's important to isolate. Even if the other person has got COVID before,
Yes.
even if they've just recovered, so they should be fine. And even if you're saying that, they've gotten all the vaccines, they shouldn't be an issue. I think
Right.
isolation is important and it's crucial. And right now it's just 5 days, man. Like
5 days, you are not
5
getting
to
shed
7
after
days.
5 to 7 days.
So please do take care of that. The second question that has been coming up, ma'am, is this recent question of the RAT and the RT-PCR.
Yes.
This question has come up a few times about whether the RAT, which is the rapid antigen test, and the RT-PCR, which was the polymerase chain reaction, which is focusing on the DNA of that virus.
Right. This is
How are these compatible? Are they interchangeable? What's our decision-making process on these things? If I get, for example, a few symptoms, what do you think would be the best way to go forward with it?
See, RATs and all are for the surface antigens. A particular virus, just now we said it is mutating so many times, having 2 mutations. Your RAT test might be having against 1 or 2 antigens only. That might not be there in this particular virus which you got it. So then the test will come negative. Whereas if you go to another, again, you have lots of RAT tests available. Some are showing with this antigen, some are showing with another antigen and all. So how many RAT tests are you going to do? As such, it is better to do, but then it can immediately you get the result. So it is like, अभी करना है वो कर लो, positive है तो definitely it is there, negative है doesn't mean you don't have, then again you will have to go for RT-PCR, and then only then you'll get the final report. So if you are symptomatic, RT-PCR is mandatory, but RAT is the first step to know. Like everybody wants to know immediately. We don't have patience at all, so वो उसके लिए ये RAT आ गया है बस.
Okay, so let me just transcribe this into English. Yes, the RAT is good. If you are positive with RAT, you are definitely positive. If you are negative with RAT, you have no guarantee that you're negative. Okay, that's the way. And the second thing is that if you really want to be sure, you can get the RAT test now and get that result, but do not trust that negative result. Isolate anyway, which I hope is a good way to explain that. All right. Ma'am, it's been a great time. I know that you've been very busy, and I'm telling you, we have another 100 more questions to answer because there are just that many.
That I'm sure you can answer.
And I'm just thinking that it's just too much to answer right now. But we've answered, I think, some of the most important questions there, the most frequent questions. And I'm going to apologize to everyone who has asked and not had a very specific answer to their very specific problem, from musicians to specific answers. I know that there are many questions that I've missed out on. We hope that we've answered a lot of your concerns though today. And I just want to thank Dr. Manjula for her very succinct but also creative answering style that gives you the answer that you're looking for and brings that medical knowledge that is sometimes so complicated into simple chunks that y'all can take home and take care of yourselves. And I think, as ma'am pointed in the beginning, her whole intention is how to help you all to be healthy. And if you're healthy at the end of the day, that's what's important. That's the most crucial thing. So, ma'am,
Nikhil.
thank you once
Thank
again.
you for this great session. and love to be a part of it.
Thank you, ma'am. And everyone, she's working from her hospital. She has got to get back to her patients. So I hope you don't mind me ending the session right now. We've already extended it 7 minutes longer, 8 minutes longer than we had intended to answer all your questions. Thank you so much, ma'am. It's been an absolute pleasure to work with you today. All right. Thank you, everyone. As I said, Dr. Manjula has had to take back all her sessions and go back to her patients. But thank you so much for all of your appreciation. And we hope that all of you will continue to take care of your health. Please get your booster vaccines, isolate when necessary, and take care of yourself. If you have COVID, long COVID, please don't neglect it. And, take care of your bodies, take care of your health. Thank you so much. And bye.